ओके तो हमने लास्ट क्लास में कोऑर्डिनेट ज्योमेट्री स्टार्ट कर लिया था. वी आर गोइंग टू गो थ्रू द कॉन्सेप्ट्स ऑफ कोऑर्डिनेट ज्योमेट्री इन दिस क्लास इन डिटेल, क्योंकि लास्ट क्लास में हमने एक ब्रीफ ओवरव्यू किया था. तो पहले उस ब्रीफ ओवरव्यू का एक क्विक रिवीजन कर लेते हैं एंड देन वी विल गो इनटू द डिटेल्स ऑफ कोऑर्डिनेट ज्योमेट्री. तो स्टार्ट करते हैं कोऑर्डिनेट ज्योमेट्री के मार्क्स से. तो अगर आप पेपर वन में कोऑर्डिनेट ज्योमेट्री को देखेंगे, यू विल सी दैट कोऑर्डिनेट ज्योमेट्री कम्स अप फॉर अबाउट 3 to 4 मार्क्स इन पेपर वन. तो पेपर वन में इसका शेयर रहेगा अराउंड 3 to 4 मार्क्स, यानी एक क्वेश्चन आ सकता है इसका, और इट विल हैव अबाउट 2 क्वेश्चंस एट मैक्स. देन कमिंग टू पेपर टू, इट विल हैव अराउंड 6 to 8 मार्क्स इन पेपर टू. और हमने दुआ ये करनी है कि ये दोनों पेपर्स में आ जाए, बिकॉज कोऑर्डिनेट ज्योमेट्री इज प्रीटी इजी एंड इट हैज वेरी स्ट्रेट एंड सिंपल क्वेश्चंस. तो अगर ये पेपर वन पेपर टू दोनों में आता है तो इट इज लाइक स्ट्रेट मार्क स्कोरिंग चैप्टर. नाउ कमिंग टू द डिटेल्स ऑफ इट, हमने कोऑर्डिनेट ज्योमेट्री में ग्रेडियंट स्टडी करना है. वी नीड टू स्टडी व्हाट इज ग्रेडियंट, देन वी विल बी डिस्कसिंग अबाउट द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ लेंथ, देन मिड पॉइंट, एंड फाइनली गोइंग ऑन टू इक्वेशन ऑफ लाइन. तो ये सारी चीजें हमने कवर करनी है in this particular chapter. Now coming to the details of the first particular concept, which is gradient. So gradient क्या होता है? What is gradient? So if we ponder upon the concept of gradient, we will see that gradient is the slope of line. Like whenever a line is being drawn, it would either be a straight line or be a slanted line. So if the line is slanted, we need to understand its slantness, like how slant it is. और इस slantness को या इस degree of slope को हम gradient कहते हैं. So whenever you are having a line, a particular line is drawn in front of you and you need to find the slope of it, कि ये कितना slanted है. In that particular manner we will find the gradient. तो gradient find करने के लिए आपके पास एक formula है, लेकिन उससे पहले मैं आपको एक ट्रिक बता देता हूँ that what is basically the gradient and what could be the possible value for gradient. तो अगर आपके पास एक horizontal line है, if you've got a horizontal line, it will always have the gradient as 0. So like if you see over here, this is a horizontal straight line. The gradient for this particular line is going to be 0. So straight away आपने इसका आंसर लिखना है as 0 without doing any sort of working, because whenever this particular question comes up, the examiner wants you to like make the values directly as your answer rather than doing the calculation, क्योंकि एक मार्क के लिए आता है and the examiner wants to check your this particular concept, that whether do you have any idea of gradient for horizontal line or not. तो जब भी आप horizontal line देखेंगे, gradient क्या होना चाहिए? straight away 0. Then coming to a vertical line, vertical line के questions usually नहीं आते हैं, लेकिन हमारे syllabus का part है, so you should be aware of it as well. So whenever you have got a vertical line like this one, you will have the gradient as undefined. Undefined term हम use करते हैं, लेकिन reality में the gradient is infinite, which cannot be calculated. तो जब भी आपके पास एक vertical line आएगी, आपने gradient का आंसर क्या लिखना है? Undefined. Then moving forward, we have a line which is slanted towards right hand. So if you see over here, this line is slanted towards right hand. ये right hand side पर slanted है. So this particular line is having the gradient as some positive value. It could either be like positive 0.5 or maybe positive 0.6 or positive 100 as well. So possibilities हैं कि ये डेसिमल में भी हो सकता है ग्रेडियंट, इट कुड बी इन फ्रैक्शन एज वेल, और ये कोई एक बड़ा इंटीजर भी हो सकता है. सो दैट डज नॉट मेक एनी डिफरेंस टू द एक्चुअल कंडीशन व्हिच सेज दैट द ग्रेडियंट शुड बी पॉजिटिव. देन मूविंग फॉरवर्ड, वी हैव दिस लाइन ओवर हियर व्हिच इज स्लांटेड टुवर्ड्स द लेफ्ट हैंड. तो लेफ्ट हैंड साइड पर स्लांटेड लाइन का ग्रेडियंट कितना होगा? ये हमेशा नेगेटिव वैल्यू के साथ होगा. It will always be with some negative value. So the terms and the conditions for a left hand slanted line is that whenever you have got a line which is slanted towards left hand, that line will have the negative gradient. Now, we don't have the concern over here that what specific value will it have. We only need to have the idea that it should be negative. अब point ये है कि sir हम ये तो समझ रहे हैं that the gradient could be positive for the right hand slanted line and for the left hand slanted line the gradient could be negative. We got that point. But what is the use of this particular point? इसका use क्या है? इसका use ये है कि जब भी आपके पास क्वेश्चन आएगा, whenever you have got a question for a line to find its gradient, you will straight away have an idea that your gradient would be positive or negative. Like I have a question over here which we solved in the previous class. इस particular line को अगर आप देखें, so this is slanted towards right hand, slanted towards right hand. तो कोई मुझे बता सकता है इसके gradient positive होना चाहिए या negative? Can any one of you guess? Yes, will it have a positive gradient or a negative gradient? Positive, very good. So now we have the idea that this line will have a positive gradient. But if you by any chance get a negative gradient, क्योंकि we are champions of maths, तो maths के साथ तो हमने मजाक करते ही रहना है. कभी maths हमारे साथ भी करती है तो हम फेल हो जाते हैं. तो हम maths के साथ अगर मजाक कर लें थोड़ा सा, and the answer turns out to be negative, you will straight away have an idea that your working was wrong. तो इस तरीके से आप खुद अपना पेपर, अपना क्वेश्चन चेक कर सकते हैं. Now we will try a couple of lines for gradient and then we will see if you people are able enough to do the gradients or not. Now starting up, we first need to have a graph. तो आप लोगों के लिए ग्राफ तैयार है. Now we have our axis over here. We have the y-axis and the x-axis. Now I am going to plot a line like this. And then a blue line like this. Now the point over here is that you need to figure out the gradient for both of these lines. But before starting up, can any one of you tell me what could be the possible sign of gradient for the white line? White line का gradient positive होगा या negative होगा? It will be positive. Very good. And what about the blue line? Negative. Perfect. So we'll have a positive gradient over here and we'll have a negative gradient over here. Excellent job everyone. छा गए आप लोग. बस कोट तैयार रखना है. 3-piece सूट सिलवा लें. ब्रिटिश काउंसिल वाले आ रहे हैं for the distinction. तो स्टार्ट करते हैं इसका ग्रेडियंट फिगर आउट करना. We have a point over here. Like कुछ random points हमें given है. We have been provided with different distinctive points at different places. So we are going to use these random points. Like I've got 12 over here and I've got 3 over here. Then this is 10 and this is, let's say, 3. Now in the opposite side we have the blue line. For that particular line we have the coordinate as 16 over here and we need to figure out the gradient. तो gradient के लिए formula हमारे पास होता है y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So the formula stands out as m is equals to y2 minus y1 whole upon x2 minus x1. अब एक चीज यहाँ पर ये है कि सर ये m किस चीज को रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा है. The question over here is that what does this m represent over here? So m is basically the symbol for gradient. Now once you have got this particular formula with you, you also need to have an idea कि y2, y1 और x2, x1 किन values को या किन data sets को represent कर रहे हैं. So x2 and y2 are basically the second points of any particular line. Like अगर एक line पर आप start करते हैं move करना, you will start from a particular point or a particular value set, that is your initial point or your first point. And then you will go all the way to the other side. And that final destination of yours would be x2 and y2 or the second point. So x2 y2 represent करता है second point को, while x1 and y1 are representing the first point. Now, we need to pick up the points from this particular graph that has been provided. तो मुझे जल्दी से बताएं, व्हाइट लाइन के लिए कौन से कोऑर्डिनेट्स यूज करेंगे? किसी को आइडिया है? कैन एनीवन पिक अप द पॉइंट्स फॉर द व्हाइट लाइन? Yes, we have got 3,3. Very good, Mahanur. Finally, Mahanur is giving answers rather than typing the same answer. Same answer लिखने के बजाय आज महानूर जो है वो आंसर दे रही है. That's really good. So we have got 3,3. Can any one of you tell me the second point for the white line? White line के लिए second point क्या है? 12, 10. Very good. तो अब हमें ये समझना है कि ये 3,3 और 12 and 10 कैसे आ गया है? How do we got these particular points? So the concept over here is, yes, a very good question from Anna. We basically don't need to figure out the very first and the very last point. That's completely our choice, that we could pick up any sort of points. Like हम 0,0 भी use कर सकते थे from here. That's perfectly correct. आप 0,0 pick करें, 3,3 pick करें या 12,10 pick करें. You just need to pick up two value sets from the entire line. तो entire line पे से आप किसी भी दो value sets को pick कर सकते हैं. That's completely your choice. So now what we need to understand over here is कि ये particular points जो अभी हमारे पास 3,3 और 12,10 की फॉर्म में आए हैं, how did we went on to pick up these points? So you'll pick up a particular point, like I've picked this one. I need to bring my scale, put it over here and mark a line like this. Then I'll use the same point and mark a line like this. So आप देखोगे that it coincides at the x-axis at 3 and at y-axis at 3 as well. Points लिखने का तरीका क्या है? You'll write the points as x, y. तो ये होती है हमारे पास x-axis. This one is the x-axis. So we have the point from x-axis as 3, and from the y-axis, which is the vertical axis, you have got the point as 3 as well. अब कुछ जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं उनको ये प्रॉब्लम रहती है that they are not able to figure out which one is y-axis and which one is x-axis. So I'll give you a trick for that as well. Look, this is a vertical line. अगर आप y को देखें तो y कुछ इस तरीके से लिखा होता है. So y seems like vertical thing. तो vertical दिख रहा है हमें y because it is covering more distance in the vertical domain. Like vertically ज़्यादा distance cover कर रहा है. So it will have the vertical axis. And if we see over here, this one is a horizontal line. And if you write x, it will go like this. तो आप अगर x को notice करें तो x ज़्यादा distance कहाँ पे cover कर रहा है? It is covering greater distance in horizontal axis. तो horizontally जो axis होगा, that would be represented by x, and the vertical axis will be represented by y. So that's the core concept of picking up axis. अब हम आ जाते हैं अपनी calculations की तरफ. So I'm sure you people are perfectly clear with picking up the points. Now we are going on to putting these points into their respective positions. So the formula was m is equals to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Now what we have over here is, we have been provided with the formula. The points were 3,3 and 12,10. You just need to put these points with their respective names. Like 3,3 is the first point, So this becomes x1 and y1. And 12, 10 is going to be the second point. So it will have x2 and y2. अब आप लोगों ने ये values put करनी है formula में, and you need to figure out the answer. As always, Masood is getting the right answers at a really good pace. Very good, Masood. Let's see if all of you are getting the same answer or not. Just give it a try. Tension nahi leni hai if you get a wrong answer. I'll just help you out with the workings. Next particular part mein answer theek aa jayega inshallah. Okay, so we have the other answer as 0.77. One thing that needs to be like made sure is that if you are from O levels, you need to like do the calculations mentally. ये paper 1 का concept है, and O level students are not allowed with calculators. और अगर आप IGCSE से हैं तो फिर टेंशन नहीं है. IGCSE students are like in ease. उन्हें कोई टेंशन नहीं होती. They can use calculators. So we have got 0.77 or 7/9. That's perfectly correct. अब हम आ जाते हैं ब्लू लाइन की तरफ. Now we have the blue line over here. I'll return back to the graph. Now you can see that we have a point over here and we have a point over here. तो आपके पास ब्लू लाइन के लिए कोऑर्डिनेट्स पिक करने के लिए पॉइंट्स मौजूद हैं. You have got your points. Just give it a try and tell me the final answer for the gradient. I'm not hearing anything from Muhammad. Muhammad, are you there? Are you getting the concepts? Rest of you should continue with the working of blue line. Gradient figure out करें and tell me your answers. Yeah, sure, Muhammad. Just give a try to the working or check करें if you are able to do the gradient for the blue line or not. Okay, so we have the gradient as -7/4. Rest of you shall solve it as well and tell me your answers. Every one of you. Okay, so we have another answer which is -4/7. Okay, अब सब अपने अपने answers check कर लें because we have got two different answers. I want answers from every one of you so that we can have an idea who's done wrong. Okay, so we have another answer of -4/7. Okay, let me just pick up the points over here. This one is 16,3 and the other one is 12,10. So this is going to be x1, y1 and the other one is x2, y2. All of you just give it a try and check your answers as well. Those of you who have got the answer, just recheck your answers if you're like doing it correctly or not. Okay, so we have -1.75. Huda, Muhammad, Husna, I'm waiting for your answers. Okay, so I'll do this for you people. You've got your points 12,10 and 16,3. अब ये दोनों पॉइंट्स आपने पिक करने and you need to place them in the gradient formula. So it would be 12 comma 10 and 16 comma 3. Now there's a problem with working for a few of you. The problem is that it was y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. तो आप लोगों ने वैल्यूज को गलत जगह पे प्लेस कर दिया है. इट वाज x1 y1 and x2 y2. So y2 is 3, then y1 is 10 divided by x2 which is 16 and x1 which is 12. So this will be negative 7 over 4. Negative 7 over 4. So those of you who are getting negative 4 over 7 are getting it wrong. The problem was with putting the points. Like you made a mistake in putting the points at the right places. The first point in this particular coordinate is x, like that is 12, and it's representing the value of x. ये चीज बहुत ज्यादा स्टूडेंट्स को बॉदर करती है because most of the students baffle up the situation by putting the places or putting the values at wrong places. Now what you need to be aware of is कि x किस चीज की वैल्यू है and what is the value for y and where do we need to place them in the formula. You need to be very cautious with that, since as per the examiner's report, the chief examiner usually tells the examiners that most of the students were making mistake at putting the points at the right places. जो exact same error अभी आप लोगों से हुआ है. अब जरा इसकी मार्किंग स्कीम चेक कर लेते हैं कि इस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन की मार्किंग स्कीम किस तरीके से डिफाइंड होती है. So whenever you have got a question for gradient and if let's say it's for 2 marks, तो 2 marks के लिए ये क्वेश्चन कैसे आपको मार्क्स रिवॉर्ड करेगा ये आपने समझना है. So whenever you have got such a question for 2 marks, you will be rewarded the first mark at the formula and the second mark will be at your answer. तो इस तरीके से आपके जो मार्क्स हैं यहाँ पर डिवाइडेड होते हैं. One thing you should be cautious of is that you are using the formula whatever the condition is. जब भी आप मैथ्स में हो या आप फिजिक्स में हो आपने फॉर्मूला लाजमी लिखना है. You need to make sure that you are writing down the formula in any particular case. अब अगर आंसर गलत भी आ जाता है तो आपको 1 मार्क फॉर्मूला का रिवॉर्ड हो जाएगा. You will gain 1 mark for the formula at least. So why shall we lose a mark by not writing down the formula? Now we will do one more question of similar type and then we'll move forward. Mina, you have joined late, but you haven't missed anything because we just got a recap of previous class for the coordinate geometry and we are currently doing gradients only. तो हमने gradients last class में start किए थे and we are still continuing with that. Now we are going to solve this particular equation line. I've been provided with 2 set of lines. You people need to figure out the gradient for both of these lines. सही आंसर निकालना है वरना मैं स्क्रीन से बाहर आके पकड़ लूंगा आप लोगों को. तो आंसर ठीक आना चाहिए लाजमी. ट्राई करें दोनों इक्वेशंस दोनों लाइंस को. दिस वन इज लाइन 1 एंड दिस वन इज लाइन 2. Quickly, all of you need to solve this and tell me the answers. Okay, so we have our first answer as 8 over 6 for line 1. Rest of you, what's the answer of all of you for the line 1? Line 1 का gradient बताएं all of you. जल्दी जल्दी solve करना है. We have got these questions for usually a mark or 2. तो 1 mark के लिए आपको 1 minute से ज़्यादा नहीं लगना चाहिए. So if you have got a question for 2 marks, that should not take more than 2 marks or 2 minutes. So whenever you are like planning a question or doing it, it should be equivalent to the time with respect to marks. जितने marks होंगे उतने ही minutes consume होने चाहिए उस question पे. So we have got 4/3, which is perfect. 8/6 simplified will give 4/3. Very good. So I guess all of you are getting the same answer for line 1. Line 2 के लिए आप लोगों ने अगर working की है तो आप लोग जो हैं वो बहुत ही काबिल हैं माशाल्लाह से. वर्किंग करने की जरूरत नहीं थी. We were not required to do the working for line number 2. आपने सिर्फ लिखना था formula which was y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 और straight away answer देना था of the gradient as 0. Because I told you people that whenever you have got a horizontal line, the gradient is going to be exactly 0. तो working करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Now, moving forward, we are going to start with the concept of length. So before starting the concept of length, I want a confirmation from all of you if the concept of gradient was perfectly clear. या इसमें किसी को कोई प्रॉब्लम कोई क्यूरी थी? Yes, everyone shall confirm if this is perfectly clear. Yes, Muhammad, Huda, Husna, Mina, every one of you. Were the gradients concept perfectly clear? Okay, done. Now we are moving forward. We are now going on to length. अब लेंथ के कॉन्सेप्ट्स में हमने सबसे पहले समझना है इसके फॉर्मूला को और फिर मैं आपको कुछ ट्रिक्स बताऊंगा. यू विल यूज दोस ट्रिक्स टू फिगर आउट द लेंथ डायरेक्टली. So starting up with length, the formula is something like this. Can any one of you tell me the formula if anyone has any idea? ओके अब क्वेश्चन ये है कि सर ये लेफ्ट पर जो आपने ए बी को लाइंस के अंदर बंद कर दिया है इसका क्या मतलब है? तो इसका मतलब होता है वी नीड टू फाइंड द लेंथ ऑफ ए बी. Length of AB was long and it was time consuming to write. So we got up a shortcut or a short trick to write it down in a simpler way. And that is to write AB with lines. अच्छा अब इन लाइंस को क्या कहते हैं हम? इन लाइंस का भी एक स्पेशल नेम है. And these lines are termed as modulus. This is not part of our syllabus, but you should have an idea, like if by any chance if someone asks you in live that what does these line represent, तो आप लोग मुझे दुआ दीजिएगा और फिर उन्हें आंसर दीजिएगा. तो पहले दुआ देना लाजमी है. These lines are termed as modulus. Now moving forward to the formula. So the formula is y2 minus y1 whole square plus x2 minus x1 whole square. अब पॉइंट ये है कि इस फॉर्मूला को हम याद कैसे रखेंगे. तो इसको याद रखने का तरीका ये है दैट यू आर यूजिंग y2 minus y1 इन ग्रेडियंट एज वेल. तो वही y2 minus y1 आपने यहाँ पे रख दिया है. देन यू आर यूजिंग x2 minus x1 इन द ग्रेडियंट एज वेल. वही x2 x1 आपने यहाँ पे लाकर रख दिया. द ओनली डिफरेंस इज दैट यू आर मेकिंग स्क्वायर्स, एडिंग देम अप एंड टेकिंग रूट. अब इसका कॉन्सेप्ट ज्वाइन करता है पाइथागोरस थ्योरम से. पाइथागोरस थ्योरम अगर आप लोगों ने किया है तो आपको आइडिया होगा दैट h स्क्वायर इज इक्वल्स टू p स्क्वायर प्लस b स्क्वायर हुआ करता था. एंड टू फाइंड द हाइपोटेन्यूज वी यूज्ड टू टेक स्क्वायर रूट ऑन द राइट साइड. तो पाइथागोरस थ्योरम का ही कॉन्सेप्ट यहाँ पर इम्प्लाई होता है विद द सेम वैल्यूज फ्रॉम द ग्रेडियंट. तो पाइथागोरस और ग्रेडियंट को हमने मर्ज करके फॉर्मूला जनरेट कर दिया है. Now moving forward, we need to understand कि इसकी calculations हम कैसे perform करेंगे. So we will bring out our graph again. Now we have the graph with us. We have our y-axis over here and the x-axis over here. The line has been provided like this. It is having a coordinate over here. Like 3 different value sets हमें given है. We have been provided as 6, 10 and 15. And we have got 4, 12 and 18. Now we need to figure out the length of this particular line, which is considered as line AB. तो line AB का आपने length find करना है. Examiner ये question काफी straight और bluntly पूछते हैं आपसे. The question would come like this. Find AB. अब आप लोगों को मैंने ये बता दिया है that these particular straight lines are considered to be the short form for the length of AB. तो AB के अंदर अगर हम साथ में lines भी place कर दें, that represents the length of these particular points. Like AB की length हो जाएगी ये. Now the question would usually come like this. Now the point here is that what we shall do further. So we will pick up a point. Like I've picked up this point over here, then I'll be using this particular point. या आप चाहें तो यहाँ पर marking कर लें पहले. Let's say that, okay, just give me a minute, Husna. So we have got A and B at these particular points. Like A और B हमारे पास यहाँ पे marked है. अब एक चीज आपने जो याद रखनी है यहाँ पे बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट वो ये है that if you have got length question, like they are asking you about the length of a particular line, तो आपके पास एक पॉइंट है A, एक पॉइंट है B. You have been marked with these particular points like this. तो अब आप इन दोनों पॉइंट्स के अलावा कोई और पॉइंट यूज नहीं कर सकते. You cannot use any other point other than these two particular points. So you are bound to use only these points. So I've been provided with A and with B. So I'll pick up my scale. I'll mark a line over here. Like this. ये हमारे पास vertical lines आ गई हैं. We have got the vertical lines. Now I'm going to do the horizontal lines. Now can any one of you tell me the coordinates of A and B? Yes, what are the coordinates of A and what are the coordinates of B? Okay, so we have got 6, 4. And what are the coordinates of B? 15, 18. Very good. Excellent, all of you. Keep it up. Now, we have got both of those points. We now have the idea of using x1 and y1 and x2 and y2. So I'll mark this one as x1, y1 and this one as x2, y2. Now, since I've got x1, y1, x2, y2 in terms of values, I'll just put them up in the formula for the length and I'll figure out my final answer straight away. So just give it a try and see if you people are able to solve it or not. Okay, as always, Masood has got the answer already. We have our answer as 16.64. So AB is equivalent to 16.64. All of you need to solve this and see if you are able to get the same answer, or if you are getting the other answer, just let me know. Okay, so we have another answer of 16.6. And if any one of you like seems to find it difficult solving the values and finding the answer, just let me know. I'll solve it for you people. Okay, so we have the formula over here. It's under root y2 minus y1 squared plus x2 minus x1 squared. Now, since we have got our y2 as 18, this is going to be 18 minus y1, which is 4, taking a square of them, plus x2, which is 15, and x1, which is 6, taking the square of these values as well. Then do not forget to put the whole root. And now we are going to solve it with 14 squared plus 9 squared. Yes, can any one of you tell me what's the square of 14? 14 का square क्या होता है? किसी को याद है? It's 196. Very good. By the way, I've been mentioning this a lot of times that you should be remembering all the perfect squares until 16. 16 तक सारे perfect squares याद होने चाहिए. So the perfect square of 14 is 196. Then the square of 9 is 81. So we will just add them up. Very good, Mohammed. So 196 plus 81 is going to produce 277. Like this. Now, we just need to take the root of 277, and this is going to be 16.6 something. I'll just give an estimate. It's 16.6 roundabout, and we have got our length for AB. अब जब आप लेंथ लिखते हैं तो आपने लेंथ का सिंबल लिखना है डेफिनेटली, एंड यू शुड राइट डाउन यूनिट्स विद द वैल्यू. लाइक 16.6 है तो आप लिखेंगे यूनिट्स. सो इफ इट वाज टू बी इन सेंटीमीटर्स, लाइक डायमेंशंस वर गिवन इन सेंटीमीटर, तो आप सेंटीमीटर लिखेंगे 16.6 के साथ. अदरवाइज if there was no dimension given like centimeter या millimeter given नहीं है, तो फिर आपने units की term use करनी है. Husna has got a very good question that what we would do if we are not allowed with calculators. तो हम perfect squares नहीं है अगर, तो कैसे calculate करेंगे numbers को? तो इसका आंसर बहुत straight और simple है. Usually ये जो क्वेश्चंस हैं, अगर ये पेपर 1 में आते हैं, if any such question shows up in paper 1, the numbers would be very straight and easy. तो आप डायरेक्टली रूट निकाल पाएंगे by just your calculations, like it would be 3, 4, 5, और आपके पास जो स्क्वायर रूट में वैल्यू होगी वो भी बहुत मिनिमलिस्टिक होगी और परफेक्ट स्क्वायर की टर्म में ही आ रही होगी. एंड इफ द वैल्यूज आर वेरी लार्ज, दैट पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन इज गोइंग टू शो अप इन पेपर 2. तो अगर वैल्यूज बड़ी हैं तो पेपर 2 में आएगा, एंड इफ इट इज कमिंग अप इन पेपर 1 फॉर ओ लेवल्स, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस पर्टिकुलर थिंग. So if you are having the paper 1 question for length, the values are going to be very easy and simple. So tension nahi leni hai. Now we are moving forward. We have a theory over here that we need to find the coordinate of A, which is x comma 10, if B is 12 comma 16 and AB is equal to 16. Now we have a very difficult question over here. अब इस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन में हुआ कुछ ऐसे है कि आपको जो वैल्यूज हैं वो इनकम्प्लीट दी हैं इन्होंने. So they have given you the coordinates of x with an unknown. So x, the value of A is having x comma 10, while the value of B is 12 comma 16, while the length of AB is 16. 16 units हमारे पास length given है. Now what you need to do over here is that you will write down the formula in the very first step. It's going to be y2 minus y1 whole square plus x2 minus x1 whole square. Now we have got the value of AB over here. We have got the value of it. So we will just substitute 16 in place of it. Now in the position of y2 minus y1, we will have the coordinates from y2 and y1. So can any one of you tell me the value of y2 and y1? Yes, any one of you who could guess the value? y2 कितना है हमारे पास 16 and y1 is 10. Very good. So we will take the square, then we will put a sign of addition. Can any one of you tell me x2 and x1? 12 and x. Very good. So we have got 12 minus x. Now, what we need to do here is that in the very first step, you need to get rid of this square root. आप इस square root से जो है free हो जाएं. So how we will get rid of this? We will take square on both sides. So 16 square is going to produce some value. Can any one of you guess the square of 16? No, we are not taking the root. We are taking a square. Look, it was a square root already. Square root present tha. We were asked to remove that square root. So we will be taking the square. So square is taken on either side and we will have 256 is equals to 16 minus 10, which is going to be 6, plus 12 minus x whole square. Now, 6 square is going to produce 36 is equals to 256 over there plus 12 minus x whole square. अब यहाँ पर आपके concepts use होंगे algebra के. Okay, Mina, I'll repeat this for you. So we had the length of AB. We were given with y2, y1. We were given with x2, but we were not aware of x1. हमें x1 की values नहीं पता थी. So we just placed all of these values over here. Now the problem was that we were having a square root on the right side. If you see, we have a square root over here. So we need to get rid of this square root. How we will get rid of it? We will take a square. We will take a square on both sides. Now the square of 16 is 256. I solved 16 minus 10, which is going to produce 6 with a square, then 12 minus x over a square as it is. Now, what we need to do further is that we need to bring out our concepts of algebra. So algebra के concepts क्या हैं? When we are having something like this with a square, we will use algebraic identity. Can any one of you tell me the algebraic identity used over here? Which algebraic identity will be used? In the meanwhile, I have taken 36 to the other side is equals to 12 minus x whole square. Okay, so this is an identity of a minus b whole square. So this was a, we have a sign of subtraction and then b with a square. So we have our second algebraic identity. If you people remember from our lectures of algebra, we did 3 identities. So this one is the second identity, which is a minus b whole square. तो अब इसे हमने open करना है. This is going to be 12 square minus 2 times 12 times x plus x square. Now this is going to be the right hand side, while on the left hand side we have got 220. Now you will square 12, which is going to produce 14, 144 in fact, and then 2 times 12 times x is going to produce 24x plus x square. you have 220 on the left side. You will bring that 220 to the right hand side and the equation will be arranged. अब equation को हम arrange करने लगे हैं. So we have got x squared negative 24x positive 144 and negative 220. तो आप देखें यहाँ पे we were having x square on the right corner. We brought it at the very first place because the greatest value or the greatest power should be in the very first place. Then the value without x, which was 144 positive, has been brought to the right and 220 has been brought over here. So left side पर जब 220 रखा हुआ था, it was with a positive sign. It is now brought to the right hand side. It is now having a negative sign. Now you need to use your concepts of algebra to solve this further. So this is going to be x square minus 24x minus 76. अब यहाँ पर प्रॉब्लम ये है कि इस पर्टिकुलर इक्वेशन को सॉल्व करने के लिए आपके पास दो मेथड्स हैं. You need to solve it with any one of these two methods. We can either do middle term breaking, very good Masood, or we could do it with quadratic formula. So we have been through both of these methods. Now I'll take a 0 on the left side. Now you have got middle term breaking or quadratic formula. अगर आपको याद हो तो मैंने आपसे कहा था that whenever you have got both of these options available, you are not going to use middle term breaking. पेपर 2 में हैं आप और आपके पास दोनों ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल हैं. You will never ever use middle term breaking. आप डायरेक्टली quadratic formula यूज कीजिएगा और सॉल्व करना है फिर. Exactly. Quadratic formula is far more easier and it is always confirmed to produce answer. Now we are going to use this particular equation from here. The value of A is 1, the value of B is negative 24 and the value of C is negative 76. Quadratic formula में हमारे पास values हुआ करती थी as minus B plus minus with an square root or an under root B square minus 4AC whole upon 2A. Now the point here is that this formula is fixed. This is like confirmed कि यही formula use करना है हमने हमेशा. जब भी quadratic equation आएगी आप quadratic formula use करेंगे. Now B is basically the value of second figure. Like जो भी variable के साथ coefficient लिखा हुआ है वो B को represent करता है from the equation. And A is the first value. Like x square के साथ कोफिशिएंट कितना है 1 है. There is nothing, so it will be considered as 1. So we have got A as 1, then B is negative 24 and finally we have C, which is something that is other than variable. Variable के बगैर जो value है उसे हम C consider करते हैं. So this is how we have got our values for A, B and C. Now we are going to put these values in place and solve it for our final answer. So this would be minus 24 plus minus under root negative 24 squared minus 4 times A, which is 1, and C, which is negative 76 whole upon 2 times A, which is 1. Very good, Husna. You have already got your answer. That's great. So we have negative 24, which is going to produce plus 24. Then a sign of plus minus under root 24 square is to be calculated by the calculator. जल्दी से इसे try करें और मुझे बताएं कितना आ रहा है. 24 square. All of you need to have your calculators on hand. Yes, what's the square of 24? 576. Very good. Then we have negative 4 multiplied by 1 multiplied by negative 6. So negative 4 times 1 times negative 76 is going to produce 304. Could anyone of you confirm? Okay, perfect. So we have got 304 under root 2 times 1, which is going to be 2. अब आपने root के अंदर values को add करना है. We'll have 8 and 880 plus minus 24 and divided by 2. Now, can anyone of you take the root of 880? Is it going to be 29.6? 29.5 या 29.6 आना चाहिए. Could anyone of you confirm? Okay, so we have 29.7 divided by 2. अब problem ये है that we have a sign of plus minus in the center. We have got two signs. हम क्या करेंगे? We'll first take 24 plus 29.7 and we'll have 24 minus 29.7 divided by 2 and we'll solve it to have our final answers. Now the final answer turns out to be 26.8 over here and negative 2.8 on the right side. तो इस तरीके से हमने x की जो वैल्यूज हैं वो फिगर आउट कर ली हैं, but I'm sure a few of you might have some issues with this particular concept. तो अगर आप में से किसी को भी एक स्टेप भी समझ नहीं आया है, just feel free to ask. Yes, Mina, Huda, Muhammad, all of you are perfectly clear. Mahanur and Ramsha as well. I want confirmations from all of you. Yes, Huda, Muhammad. Perfect, excellent. So we are now done with the concept of length. We are now moving further and moving on to the concept of midpoint. तो अब हमने समझना है that what is the midpoint and how we need to figure it out. So as the name speaks, midpoint is basically the center point or the point in the very middle or in the very center. So midpoint अपने नाम से ही बता रहा है. What is it? It is the point present in the very center. So if you have got point A, if you have, and you have got point B, both of these points will have a center point at their very center. So that is what midpoint is all about. Now we need to have the formula of midpoint as well. So can any one of you recall the formula for midpoint? Any one of you? Answers गलत भी होंगे तो चलेगा, कोई issue नहीं है. If you have got any idea of the midpoint, just let me know. Yes, can any one of you recall? Okay, so the midpoint is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Anna, you were very close. It was divided by 2 as well. Like आपने x1 x2 को जब add किया है, you need to divide them by 2 as well, and y1 and y2 would be divided by 2 as well. So both of them will be added up and then divided by 2. अच्छा, अब point ये है कि अगर मुझे center point या mid point figure out करना है, तो mid point find करने के लिए कोई shortcut है या नहीं? तो shortcut बिल्कुल है. If you have a line like this and you're going through these points, this is 0, 0 and you have, let's say, 10, 6. तो आपने क्या करना है, अगर आप डायरेक्टली फाइंड करना चाहते हो आंसर, तो आपने एक ट्रिक यूज करनी है. सो व्हाट यू नीड टू डू इज यू नीड टू कंपेयर 0 and 10. जो आपके पास फर्स्ट कोऑर्डिनेट्स हैं, दोनों ही पॉइंट्स में से जो फर्स्ट कोऑर्डिनेट्स हैं, which is for x. So the 0 and the 10 are going to be compared. Can any one of you tell me the value in between 0 and 10? 0 and 10 के बीच में कौन सी वैल्यू होती है? Yes, any one of you? What comes exactly in the middle of 0 and 10? It's 5. 0 और 10 के बीच में हमारे पास 5 आता है. So we have got 5 as the first coordinate. Then you are going to do the same with the values of y. You will be doing exactly same thing with 0 and 6. Can any one of you tell me the value in between 0 and 6? 3. Very good. तो आप इस तरीके से डायरेक्टली भी फिगर आउट कर सकते हैं विदाउट एनी सिंगल स्टेप. बस प्रॉब्लम क्या है? इफ द एग्जामिनर आस्क्स दिस क्वेश्चन फॉर 2 मार्क्स, you will be rewarded for answer as well as formula. तो फिर फॉर्मूला लिखने के मार्क्स लाजमी हो जाएंगे, डेफिनेट हो जाएंगे. Until if this question comes up for a single mark, and for a single mark, as I've already told you about the marking scheme, कि 1 मार्क का क्वेश्चन सिर्फ आंसर पे ही असेस होता है. So if you have got this particular question for a single mark, आप डायरेक्टली ये ट्रिक लगा के डिस्टेंस निकाल सकते हैं, कोई टेंशन नहीं है. Now moving forward, we are going to use the concept of distance with respect to the formula. तो शॉर्टकट बहुत हो गए, अब हम आ जाते हैं जरा प्रैक्टिकल वर्किंग पे. तो इसका जो फॉर्मूला है वो हमारे पास मौजूद है. वी हैव गॉट x1 y1 ओवर हियर and x2 and y2 over here. Now we just need to pick up these values, put them in the formula and figure out the final answer. So a very good question by Anna. Yes, exactly. You will be rewarded both of the marks for the formula and for your answer. अगर 2 marks का question आता है, you will have the first mark for your formula and the second mark would be for your answer straight away. You don't need to show the working in that particular case. So yes, of course, if you will have the trick with you and you write down the formula as well and directly the answer, तो आपको दोनों marks मिल जाएंगे. Now coming to the working, we have the formula as x1 plus x2. Can any one of you tell me the value of x1 from here? Yes, what is the value of x1 and x2? Okay, so we have 0 and 10. We are going to add them up and divide them by 2. y1 और y2 की values भी बताएं, all of you. We have 0 and 6 divided by 2. Now 0 and 10 are going to be 10 divided by 2 will become 5. Then 0, 0 and 6 are going to add up with 6 and they are going to be divided by 2, which is going to produce 3. So we have the same answer by the working and we had the exact same answer in return for our trick as well. तो आप ट्रिक यूज कर सकते हैं अगर 1 मार्क के लिए क्वेश्चन आता है. And if you have the question for 2 marks, you will do the entire working. That's recommended. लेकिन formula और answer होना जरूरी है for 2 marks. Now we are done with the general concept of midpoint or the middle point. Now we are going to have a question for a trick part. Like yes, if you have a question for 1 mark and you do the answer without working, तो आप straight line के लिए directly निकाल सकते हैं ना. Yes, you will have the mark for a straight line without working अगर 1 mark के लिए आता है. Now we have a question over here which is saying that we don't have any idea of the coordinates of A, but we do know that B was 15 and 18, while the midpoint of AB is 5 and 24. So we have got the midpoint, we have got the coordinate of B, but we don't know the value for the coordinates of A. तो हमें A के coordinates नहीं मालूम. So we will be doing this particular topic in our next class. आज के लिए हम इतना ही रखते हैं इसे और next class में फिर इंशाल्लाह इसे continue करेंगे. We'll be doing difficult questions for coordinate geometry in the next class, which are based on past paper examples. तो ये सारे क्वेश्चन भी इवन दो पास्ट पेपर से ही रिलेट कर रहे हैं, but in our next class we'll be doing the past papers in far more detail. So we'll keep it till here for today, and we are only left with the concept of equation of line, and that would be our final topic for coordinate geometry. Inshallah, that will be covered on Tuesday. So that's a wrap for today, but before leaving, I need a confirmation from all of you if all of the concepts are perfectly clear, या किसी को कोई क्यूरी कोई प्रॉब्लम है इसमें तो मुझसे पूछ लें. Yes, I need a confirmation from all of you. Huda, Muhammad, this was your first class, so I'll need a special confirmation from both of you. सब कुछ क्लियर है? Okay, so we are now wrapping up, and those of you who are taking physics as well will join with the same link in 5 minutes. We'll be starting physics by 4:10. Okay, you are still confused with the 24? Where was 24? The rest of you could leave, and we'll be starting physics in about 5 minutes. Huda, can you just tell me where is 24, which is confusing you? Oh, okay. This is a question. We don't need to worry about this particular question right now. It's an advanced question. ये हमने next class में इंशाल्लाह cover करने. So I'll be explaining this in detail in the next class. So this is just a question right now. You don't need to think on it at all. Other than that, it was perfectly clear, right? या कोई query है तो आप पूछ लें. Okay, done. So that's a wrap for today. See you in the next class in 5 minutes. Allah Hafiz.